Welcome back to the series Disney tried to copyright just for being too real. In today's episode of the Ludwig Spiral, our jellyfish overlord has spoken again. Another response, another attempt, another faceplant. Meanwhile, Techone is back on the offensive with a flamethrower of truth and Pokimane. Well, she's making history with the worst takes known to humankind. Well, we'll get to that. Let's start with Ludwig, or as the internet now calls him, Jellywig. Last time we checked in, Ludwig was getting roasted for Burio Kart, a Mario Kart drinking game tournament he hosted. He invited Mango, a longtime friend with a well-documented struggle with alcohol, and egged him on into dangerous levels of drinking. After Mango predictably spiraled and the internet exploded, Ludwig's response? I feel zero guilt. His defense boiled down to, drama YouTubers don't actually know Mango. Also, the earth is spinning and we're all going to die. Real Socratic wisdom right there. This week, though, Jellywig went lib again with what might be his most human response yet. He told his mods to stop banning people mentioning the drama. He acknowledged the memes, the trolls, and even admitted his clip saying, let's get those numbers up, was diabolically cringe. And to be fair, he didn't dodge it this time. I ultimately had some very embarrassing clips and moments, Ludwig said. In hindsight, it looks really bad. I apologize for it. I think it's fair punishment if people want to dunk on me for a while. That's a major tone shift. And for once, he didn't follow it up with a philosophy major's TD talk. He showed some actual self-awareness. Even said the biggest mistake he made was saying he felt no guilt. I do regret that, he added. This was already an improvement, but people weren't mad at the memes. They were mad because Ludwig's initial response lacked real accountability. It felt like he threw Mango under the bus. Now he admits the whole thing was mishandled, but still doesn't quite reach the level of taking full responsibility. He explains that he's been on his Stoicism Arc, essentially a life philosophy that teaches you to control what you can and ignore what you can't. Respectable, but not exactly what people want to hear when the issue is something you caused. He goes on to say he doesn't want to appease people who aren't involved. No apology helps. People just want to be mad, he claimed. Again, kind of true, but also kind of missing the point. A viewer then hits him with the golden question. Why can't you just say you wish Mango wasn't at the event in the first place? Ludwig responds that inviting Mango wasn't the issue. Letting him drink unchecked and encouraging it would. He admits the breathalyzers were dumb, says cheering him on was a mistake, and that he regrets it. He insists Mango didn't seem like a problem in past events, so he thought it would be fine this time. Clearly it wasn't. This part of the stream was the closest he got to real reflection. He said he underestimated the situation and was ignorant. And honestly, that's believable. Dangerous, but believable. Then he tried to downplay the breathalyzer readings, claiming they weren't accurate and saying people exaggerating the danger weren't being sincere. But let's be real. Anything over 30 is serious. It's not meme-worthy. It's hospitalization territory. As for Mango, Ludwig says people are acting like the man died. He's going to be back, better than ever. I truly believe that, he said. His sobriety is going to help him. Noble sentiment, sure, but also glossing over the fact that Mango just got dropped from a 10-year esports org, humiliated online, and might have irreparably damaged his reputation. And Ludwig cutting him off from future events? Yeah, that didn't help. Now, to be clear, Mango's a grown man. He made his own choices, but having your friend, the host, literally cheer you on to drink more after blowing a 52 is next-level reckless. Ludwig has apologized, but people are still wondering. Is it because he genuinely feels bad or just because he got cooked by the internet? Techone, one of the main voices criticizing Ludwig, seems to think the latter, especially after Ludwig brought up his name during his stream, again, despite supposedly not wanting to engage. Techone clapped back. Lig tried to slander me to score a W 3 times in 48 hours, then watched both my videos after saying he'd rather neck himself than see one. Classic. He continued, saying that Ludwig keeps painting him as disingenuous, which is rich considering Techone is arguably one of the most unfiltered voices in this space. I get in trouble because I tell the truth, even when it makes me look bad, he said. Meanwhile, Ludwig filters everything he says through 10 PR advisors. And honestly, he's not wrong. So now we're in round 2 of the Jellywig versus Techone saga. Ludwig's chat is apparently auto-banning anyone who types Techone, even though Ludwig himself specifically told his mods not to do that. Meanwhile, Techone's response was pure scorched earth mode. If there's one thing I'm not, it's disingenuous. I've gotten into trouble because I tell the truth. Meanwhile, Ludwig can't take accountability for anything. And let's be honest, if the contest is about authenticity, Techone sweeps. He'll say what's on his mind even if it's unpopular or ruins his brand. Ludwig, on the other hand, speaks like someone trying to win a presidential election in a Minecraft server. His statements are so filtered they make Dasani taste like spring water. Techone pointed out that nobody even wants to cancel Ludwig. People just want accountability, he said. You're not a horrible person. You're just a bad friend in this moment. Stop spinning it like you're the victim. And honestly, that was probably the realest line in this whole fiasco. But Ludwig couldn't help himself, again implying that people like Techone are clout chasers who don't really care about Mango. This led to one of the dumbest takes of the whole saga. They don't really care about Mango. They won't even be in his stream when he's back. Bro, that's not the point. This isn't about Twitch subs. It's about basic human empathy. Techone absolutely went in after that. You don't need to be someone's best friend to care about them. If I saw someone bleeding on the street, I'd help them even if I didn't know their name. He continued, this idea that only close friends should care is straight up psychotic. It's sociopathic. I can't believe I have to explain basic empathy to a 29-year-old man. At this point, the internet had already declared Techone the winner of this whole feud. Like, it's not even close. Then Ludwig tried to argue that a Techone following Mango on social media was somehow proof that his concern wasn't genuine. As is showing public support equals clout farming, Techone replied with probably the most brutal monologue in this entire mess. He said, I followed Mango because I saw a man surrounded by people, and not a single one of them stepped in when he was blackout drunk. I followed him to offer help. I have family who struggle with alcoholism. I know what it does to people. And then he hit the final note. You think a guy did it for clout? Bro, I didn't even disclose it. You forced me to. I was trying to help someone who clearly had no one else doing it. That one hit hard. At this point, Techone really started pulling back the curtain on the streaming world. He explained why so many creators won't criticize Ludwig. He's the guy running the big events. He's the connector, the ringmaster. And if you cross him, you're not just cut off from Ludwig, you're cut off from 50 other streamers. Streaming is a nepotism goldmine. YouTube is solo. Twitch is a high school clique. And if you're not in with the popular kids, you're out. Techone said it bluntly, that's why nobody speaks out. Because they need the invite. They need the collabs. And they're scared, which makes sense. Ludwig has created a little Twitch ecosystem. A digital LA where everyone's reputation and success depends on playing nice. Even if he messes up, nobody wants to rock the boat. Because Ludwig's boat is the only one in the harbor. But Techone, he doesn't care. He said, I've earned my clout. I don't need these people. I can beef with Merbeast and Slick just fine. And honestly, that's the energy everyone should have. If you ever wondered why so many streamers are spineless when real drama hits, it's this. They'd rather stay silent than risk being excluded from Ludwig's next $50,000 tournament. They'll call you a good guy to your face, even if you put their friend in harm's way because they need you. And that's exactly what makes the Jellywig nickname stick. So let's talk about how this all could have been avoided. The reason this blew up isn't because people were out to get Ludwig. It's because he acted like a smug PR bot while his friend got obliterated on camera. If Ludwig had just stepped up with a genuine early apology like, I messed up, I endangered my friend, I'm sorry, this would have been a 2-day Twitter cycle at most. But instead, he played defense, then deflection, then denial. It took multiple streams, waves of backlash, and internet-wide memes for him to finally go, yeah, I regret that. And even then, it was buried 90 minutes deep in a stream without a proper statement. Why? Because if he posts a video or a tweet, everyone sees it. His fans, his sponsors, his event partners. If you're wondering why Ludwig never made a full public apology, that's the answer, awareness. He knows a huge chunk of his fanbase doesn't even know what happened. And by not making a standalone video, he keeps it that way. That's not transparency. That's calculated obscurity. And look, people forgive mistakes. People even forgive serious mistakes. But this wasn't some innocent misstep. Ludwig hosted an event, invited a known alcoholic, and incentivized more drinking on camera. That's not just irresponsible. It's borderline dangerous. Let's not sugarcoat this. Mango's blood alcohol content hit a level that most doctors would call near death. If something worse had happened that day, if Mango had been hospitalized, or worse, this story wouldn't be about cancel culture. It would be about legal liability. Ludwig could have faced serious consequences, and the way he talks about the event, calling it cringe or embarrassing, shows how unserious he was about the actual risk. This isn't just about social backlash. It's about how close someone came to a tragedy while their friend turned it into a meme. And what does Mango do? Apparently, he's still friends with Ludwig. Still defending him. Still trying to move on. And that's wild. Because most people would walk away, cut the cord, block the number. But Mango, he's still loyal. I honestly can't tell if that's admirable or tragic. Now here's where things get even more absurd. Techone says he tried to help. He followed Mango on social media, hoping to reach out, offer a therapist, maybe help him into a support program. He didn't make it public. He didn't try to milk it. He just cared. And Ludwig's response? It's disingenuous. That's where you know he's deep in LA streamer brain rot. This man really thinks nobody does anything unless there's a hidden motive. Ludwig genuinely cannot fathom someone caring without Clout in mind. Techone explained his own personal history. He's had family members battle addiction. He knows how isolating it is, how people become unrecognizable, and still, even after all that, Ludwig acts like it's fake. Meanwhile, the real fake is the world Ludwig lives in, where friendships are based on collabs and morality is dictated by your CPM. In that world, everything is transactional. So when someone shows basic human empathy, it short-circuits his brain, because he's not used to it. He's used to ring-kissing, silence, and empty validation. So when someone like Techone comes in and says, "Hey, I don't care about your status, you messed up," he doesn't know how to respond. By now, it's pretty clear why this whole situation spiraled into full-blown internet war, and honestly, a big part of it is Ludwig's own community. You so much as type Techone in his chat, insta-ban. You make a sarcastic Mango reference, gone. Ludwig's mod team is running that chat like it's North Korea with Twitch emotes. And what's wild is that Ludwig himself told them not to do this, and they still did it. That tells you everything you need to know about how curated this community really is. Techone pointed it out. You've conditioned your chat to type Q when my name comes up. You've created an echo chamber of people who believe anything you say and hate anyone who calls you out. And it's true. Ludwig's circle has become this self-reinforcing loop where no one holds each other accountable. Why? Because everyone's trying to get invited to the next event. Everyone's afraid of burning bridges. It's a cloud economy, and Ludwig's the central bank. Techone summed it up perfectly. He's not a jellyfish. He's a Jellybot, surrounded by NPCs in a jellyfish spaceship. And you know what? That metaphor hits too hard. Let's be real. Most streamers will never criticize Ludwig, not because they agree with him, not because they like him, but because they need him. He's the guy who puts on the shows, who runs the creator tournaments, who holds the key to 100K viewer events. If you're in the streaming world, Ludwig isn't just a creator. He's infrastructure. So yeah, no one's going to call him out. No one's going to say, "Hey man, maybe don't push your alcoholic friend to drink more." Because if you do that, you're blacklisted. Not just from Ludwig, but from the entire Hollywood of Twitch. The whole LA clique, Jen, Ray, Valkyrie, and more. That's why this whole scenario feels fake. Not just Ludwig's response, the silence from everyone else. YouTubers don't play this game as hard, but streamers. They're in a never-ending popularity contest, and no one wants to get voted off the island. Techone doesn't care. That's why he's dangerous. That's why he's the only one who actually said something. Because he doesn't need Ludwig. And he knows the rest of the streamer world is just playing nice to protect their status. Ludwig keeps saying he doesn't want to appease people who aren't involved. But that's just another excuse. Nobody asks for appeasement. They ask for basic accountability. For a moment of sincerity. For something other than a Reddit thread or buried apology inside a livestream VOD. Instead, what we got was a slow, reluctant walk back, 1 inch at a time, a little regret here, a little stoicism there. Then you don't really care about Mango Jab just to keep things spicy. And still the question remains, why not just make a proper apology video? Because he knows it'll blow up. He knows it'll spread beyond the streaming world. He knows his clean image might take a hit. And more importantly, he knows that a huge chunk of his audience has no clue any of this even happened. And that's why he's hiding in plain sight. This wasn't some harmless PR fumble. It was a potentially life-threatening situation that could have gone horribly wrong. And the only reason Ludwig's still standing is because Mango didn't end up in a hospital, or worse. The moment you realize that, this all hits different. Let's talk about Mango for a second, the guy at the center of all this. Mango isn't just a casualty here. He's a guy who nearly lost everything in one night. His org dropped him. His reputation tanked. He became a meme, headline, and a cautionary tale all at once. And yet, he's still defending Ludwig, so wants to be friends. Why? Maybe it's loyalty. Maybe it's denial. Maybe it's just survival mode, not wanting to be alone after the internet turns on you. But no matter how you slice it, it's tragic, because Ludwig was his friend. And that friend let him spiral in front of millions for content. Techone made a great point. If someone encouraged me to keep drinking after I blew a 32, I cut them off ASAP. And let's be real, who wouldn't? That's not just bad judgment. That's reckless endangerment dressed up as a party. Friendship means stepping in, not stepping back. And Ludwig stepped way back, right off the moral cliff. Now here's where the story turns full clown show. Ludwig told his chat that Mango had supposedly asked him not to talk about it, not to address the situation, not to apologize, just stay silent. And Techone, he wasn't having it. "You're full of it," he said. "There is no way Mango told you not to say anything, after you already went live 3 times saying you felt no guilt. And to be fair, that does sound fishy. You don't get to double down publicly, then say, well, actually Mango told me not to speak. That's not damage control, that's deflection. It's trying to pass the buck to the one guy who can't speak for himself without risking more backlash. Even if Mango did say that, it doesn't excuse the way Ludwig handled things. It doesn't erase the cheering, the breathalyzer jokes, or the culture around his event that rewarded excess. It just adds a new layer of weird to the whole thing. And honestly, at this point, the internet isn't buying it. So let's bring this back to Ludwig's new favorite word, stoicism. He keeps saying he's on his stoic arc, that he's focusing on what he can control, that people's opinions are out of his hands. It's almost spiritual the way he says it, like he's floating above the hate unbothered. Well, let's be honest. Stoicism doesn't mean silence. It doesn't mean inaction. It doesn't mean pretending you're above it all while people are still hurting. Stoicism means owning your choices, not hiding behind vague philosophy. And the way he's using it? It's just a mask, a rebrand, a defense mechanism for a guy who doesn't want to admit he messed up in a serious way. Techone put it best. This isn't about who's in your stream next month. It's about being human. Empathy isn't transactional. Because when Ludwig says things like, they won't care about Mango in a month, what he's really saying is, I don't have to care either. But that's not stoicism. That's detachment. That's indifference. That's exactly the kind of mindset that let this situation happen in the first place. The wildest part of this whole saga, Ludwig saw Techone offering help to Mango and took that as an attack. Imagine that. A fellow creator sees someone spiraling, reaches out privately, and the response is clout chaser. Techone said it plain and simple. I wasn't trying to get attention. I wasn't doing this for content. I followed him because I wanted to help him. Nobody else was. He even shared that he planned to connect Mango with a therapist, maybe even guide him towards support groups. Why? Because he's seen what alcoholism can do. He's watched family members struggle with it. He knows how it ruins lives. And Ludwig, he knows it too. He said before that someone in his family struggled with alcoholism, so he should get it. But instead of empathizing, he defaulted to paranoia, as if helping someone out of the spotlight is impossible unless it benefits you. That mindset isn't just cynical. It's dangerous. It discourages people from stepping up when others need it, and that's how people get left behind. Now, while all this was unfolding, another streamer entered the cringe arena, Pokimane, and she came armed with one of the worst takes of 2025. She tweeted, "Believe victims." Okay, fair. No one disagrees with the idea in principle, but a fan replied, reminding her of how she mocked Amber Heard during the Johnny Depp trial, and Pokimane. She apologized. Sort of. I regret how I live-streamed the trial. Any jokes made were at the expense of how victims are perceived, she said. I took down those videos. Now we could have ended it there, but nope. The fan demanded she apologize directly to Amber Heard, the same woman who literally got exposed for fabricating abuse claims and defaming Johnny Depp. Pokimane didn't push back. Instead, she kept nodding along like she was being coached by the spirit of Casey Tron. Look, laughing at Amber Heard wasn't just a bad optics moment. It was the internet consensus, because she was literally caught lying. She weaponized victimhood and in doing so hurt real survivors. So apologizing for mocking a proven manipulator, peak virtue signaling. And the reason she laughed in the first place? Because it was popular. Because everyone did it. Because it was safe. Now that the tide shifted, she wants to rebrand. And it's obvious. So where does this leave us? Honestly, Ludwig could still have a redemption arc. He's not irredeemable. One massive screw-up doesn't define a person. What does define you is how you respond. And for what it's worth, his recent response, though flawed and half-buried, is still better than nothing. But the truth is, a lot of people want to like Ludwig. They're looking for a reason to forgive him. They're desperate for him to show just a sliver of vulnerability, sincerity, realness. But every time he opens his mouth, it's a PR filter wrapped in stoicism quotes. The sad part? If he had just said early on, I messed up. I put my friend in danger. I regret it. I want to do better. People would have moved on. Instead, he gave them a Jellybot lecture on existentialism while everyone watched Mango fall apart. And as for Techone, say what you want about him, but he's the only one who stood up and said this isn't right. Even if you don't agree with everything he says, at least he says it. No filter, no politics, just a guy speaking from experience. And that's the heart of this story. This wasn't about one party or one streamer. It's about the difference between silence and accountability, between image and integrity, between pretending to care and actually giving a damn. If you want to be a real friend, a real creator, a real person, you have to show up when it's inconvenient. Not just when the cameras are off, not just when the backlash is loud, but before the fallout even begins. So yeah, Ludwig, you might not be evil, you might not be malicious, but in this case, you weren't a friend, you were a brand. And that's exactly why people are still mad.